Hello, everybody. Next Thursday will be Thanksgiving, exactly 1 week away. The whole point of the 40-day challenge was to get you ready for the nightmare 40 days between Thanksgiving and January 1st, whatever that is. I don't know if it's 40 days or 38 days, but the point is, guys, it's only going to get worse. So hopefully in these past 40 days, you've learned a whole bunch of things about science, about genetics, about what actually works when it comes to keeping weight off, how to lose weight. There's a lot that we uncovered. So today, I'm going to talk about exercise, cardio, high intensity interval training, low intensity, steady state cardio. What's the difference between that and NEAT, which we've talked about in the past. I'm going to also talk about lifting weights, what we mean by intensity as opposed to volume and things of that nature. And you're going to get some very practical takeaways. So here's the deal, guys. And those of you that have been around me have been listening to me preach this for many years. My biggest problem when it comes to cardio is the long, drawn out cardio like jogging. Now, I am not saying going for a nice long walk. Nice long walks, I'm a big fan of. I do it all the time. I'm a big fan of doing one or the other. Either do nice, long, fast-paced walks or do things that are tantamount to sprinting, which could include lots of things: medicine ball slams, kettlebell swings, doing the battle ropes, doing sprints upstairs. All of these things are considered high intensity interval training. And we'll talk about how to do that, why to do it that way, what the risks are, what the benefits are. But when you look around at what the average person does and calls exercise, it's fine. It's not like there's not benefit to jogging. I think you guys know that I ran cross country for a lot of years in middle school and high school. But the focus of this 40-day challenge has been on weight loss. And here, I'm not going to just talk about why it's more advantageous to do either HIIT or LISS, which is the lower intensity steady state cardio, meaning that it's not the middle. You're either on one end or the other. You're either doing high intensity or you're very low. You're not in the middle. You're not jogging for, 10, 12 miles. And again, if that is what floats your boat because you get the runner's high, that's a separate story. But again, just listen to the arguments here and let's understand what to expect and what to certainly not expect when it comes to physique and when it comes to your overall benefit here. First of all, let's just remind everybody that the lean body mass that you walk around with, meaning the amount of lean tissue that you carry on your body, is the most metabolic thing that you've got. So I don't know if you've heard this or not, but the term skinny fat, there's lots of people that walk around who are quote unquote light body figure, right? Like they have a body weight that is completely normal, but carry a very high body fat percentage. So that person does not have a lot of lean mass relative to somebody who's the same weight, right, with a couple more pounds of lean tissue on their body. That person with the more lean tissue is going to look better. They're also going to be metabolically more at a better advantage, meaning that they are much more likely to be consuming more calories during their basal metabolic rate resting than the person who lacks the lean tissue on their body. Now, I say all of that because how we choose to do our exercise, whether it's strength training or cardio, for lack of a better term, I'm just putting that under a big umbrella right now. I want to move away from that term, but how we choose to do those things really matter. And all we have to do here is follow the science of what we know. And let me just start off by saying this. Most people that walk into my gym I've been doing this for 20 years, guys. I've actually been doing it for 25 years plus at some level, meaning training people one-on-one or in groups. And I've been working out myself for the past 32 years. Now, I'm not saying all of this to impress you. I want to impress upon you that I have seen tens of thousands of hours of people in front of me, how they move, what they do, what they complain about, what the most common injuries are, how they occur, what their struggles are, what the history is, how to fix knees and hips. So I want to express that what you choose to do first matters and is predicated upon, do you move in pain when exercising? If so, stop. It's not right for you. Period. End of story. You must have a different strategy. So that means that if every time you jog, you get shin splints or your hip kind of hurts, that is not no pain, no gain. That's you being an absolute idiot and not understanding what happens to your body when you induce joint pain in your body every time you move. Your body's a lot smarter than you. It will stop you from moving it by doing things like putting down calcium in those joints, because your body's essentially saying, oh, okay, you won't stop. Let me stop you by putting a literal cast there. Throwing calcium deposits around joints is how your body makes a cast so that you stop moving it. It's a brilliant mechanism. Okay, now how well does a wrist bend or an elbow bend or a knee bend when there's a whole bunch of calcium around it? I have been in the office with people doing stretch therapy and whatnot, people who come in off the street and I take their shoulder or I do whatever, they're complaining about their shoulder and I'm like, wow, this is weird. They can't, and it turns out they have a golf ball size calcium deposit in their shoulder. Now, how does that happen? Well, it can happen from many ways. One way is via exercising and ignoring the pain that's constantly there. Another way is, look, here's my phone. I take my phone and I go like this all day. Yeah, Mary. Yeah, I know. You're doing some crazy thing with your neck all day, which contorts your neck, creates all these cervical impingements up in your C3, C4, C5. You shrug your shoulder up, which jams this joint up, which doesn't need more excuses to get jammed up based on how we breathe all day. We breathe like this with our shoulders instead of our diaphragm. There's a lot of things that go into how and why things go wrong in a body. I mean, the most common seminar I've done over the years is on breathing. So just think about that, like breathing itself, breathing, how you breathe at night when you sleep, how you breathe when you exercise, how you breathe when you strength train. Most people, and when I say most, I mean like 90% do it wrong. So it starts there. So if you recognize that whatever you're doing causes pain, stop. And you need to find something else that doesn't hurt. My strongest recommendation is, can you at least walk without pain? If you can walk without pain, that is, to me, the gold standard of exercise. It does everything, right? It has you have a normal gait, a normal arm swing. You're moving how your body is evolutionarily made to walk, meaning you're walking upright, meaning evolutionarily made to move, meaning you're walking upright. You can do it with good posture. You can breathe correctly. Everything is set up for you to be successful when you just walk with a good pace. What is the difference between that and jogging? Try to jog with good posture. It's nearly impossible. And my biggest pet peeve is when I'm driving down the road and I see people jogging, their posture and their gait between their legs and their arms is some of the most horrific stuff you've ever seen in your life. And I'm wondering, like, how in the hell does their body keep enduring that? Because I know that their hips hurt. I know their knees hurt. I know that because I ran so many miles for so long at 147 pounds when I was 15, 16, 17, 18 years old, and I did it at an elite level. So what I'm watching is disastrous. I want to just tell people, stop, just walk, please. You'll be doing yourself a favor. Now you may say, well, what is the joint pain and whatnot have to do with weight loss? Guys, what happens when your body's in pain? When your body's in pain, what happens? What markers go up in the body? Just to keep it simple, what is the role of cortisol? It is the strongest anti-inflammatory that your body makes. Your body, like I said, not only will it release calcium, it's going to release a lot of cortisol as a mechanism to help reduce inflammation. Now, in the context of training, that's normal, right? But if you put yourself in a position where you're chronically in pain because of how you ironically are trying to take care of yourself, right? Like you're making the investment to jog, for example, for 45 minutes, or ride a damn bike, which we'll get to in a minute, for 45 or 50 minutes 3 times a week. And yet you get off the bike or you stop jogging and your hip hurts, your lower back hurts. That pain lingers now for literally forever in some way, shape, or form throughout your day. That is what leads to these chronically elevated cortisol levels. And chronically elevated cortisol levels, it's a hormone, it's an important hormone. You know what cortisol antagonizes, everybody? You know what the opposite of cortisol is? Testosterone. Okay, if you have very high cortisol levels, you're not going to have optimal testosterone levels. And it really just starts there on this spectrum. So I'm just trying to explain to you that moving in pain is going to not only stop you from having a long life in fitness, it is actually going against the goals that you're trying to achieve because hormonally you're just jacking yourself up. So again, you must start with choosing an exercise that doesn't cause joint pain. Now, let's assume that you're totally healthy. And by the way, that pain maps onto any movement whatsoever. So if it hurts, you're wrong. Okay, choose something else. Now, if you can find something that doesn't hurt, so for example, if you know you have bad knees, then do the battle ropes with your upper body. Put on some boxing gloves, learn how to punch a punching bag correctly. If you have questions about how to do that, I'll make a video on how to actually throw punches correctly. All of them. It's something that I did privately for 6 years before I opened the gym. There is a whole technique and strategy in terms of how you punch a punching bag or mitts or any of that stuff. It is a technique. It's not designed to just walk into some random gym, throw gloves on because it looks cool. That is another way on how to hurt your wrists, how to hurt your neck, how to hurt your shoulders because you don't know how to throw a punch. Guys, we have bastardized the fitness industry because of lack of technique. We like the bright, sparkly things. They look so cool to kick a bag. Okay, never mind the fact that you just destroyed your ankle for life. And I do have clients who, because they went into some, CKO boxing gym, they literally destroyed their ankle will never be the same, or their wrist will never be the same. Again, taking the time to learn the technique really matters. And I'm sorry that I'm harping on this so long. It's just that I've been doing this so long that certain things really just blow my head up. So taking the time, guys, to find what doesn't hurt, taking the time to learn the technique, taking the time to understand that posture really matters. Intention really matters. So if assuming you find something that doesn't hurt, great, you're on the right path. You have no joint pain. That could be walking, that could be doing the Jacob's ladder, that could be doing stairwells, that could be pushing a prowler, that could be walking a prowler backwards, that could be doing jumping rope, that could be doing anything if it doesn't cause you joint pain. Now, what is the difference between these two opposite ends, the high intensity interval training and the low intensity steady state training? The low intensity steady state training is something you feel like you can do forever, right? You can just keep walking for hours and you're just focusing on posture and breathing, and there's a parasympathetic nervous system benefit there because you're more relaxed, you're out in nature, you're in the sunlight, you're breathing fresh air, you're getting all of the metabolic advantages from not sitting on your ass all day. That's great, and you're burning extra calories, and it does map onto heart health, and it maps onto metabolic health. It maps onto a whole bunch, including your immune system by being out in the in nature, from the phytoncides that are in the wilderness, which I've done a whole video on that. There's longitudinal studies that show that being in the woods, taking in what are called phytoncides, maps onto the immune system to create natural killer cells in the body. Sorry for the tangent. I'm just saying there's so many benefits to not just walking, but being in nature, be it for your parasympathetic nervous system, for your immune system, and for fat burning. As opposed to what? As opposed to being on a treadmill inside, running, grinding it out, your hips, your knees, your everything just hurts. Do you see, guys? There's better ways. Why would we choose, if we're going to invest time in doing something, why would we choose a suboptimal way when the most obvious way is right in front of you? Get off the treadmill inside that you're running on, start walking outside, and maximize the benefit in every regard. Your immune system, your parasympathetic nervous system, your posture, your cortisol levels, your everything is better. Getting light into your eyes, which is a whole nother topic, right? Meaning natural sunlight. Okay. That's long interval steady state training. You feel like you could do it forever. Something like walking. Or if you're in really good shape, riding a bike, just nice and flat. I'm not a fan of riding bikes all the time. I am a big fan of mixing up what you do. And I'll talk about that more, especially when it comes to high intensity interval training. But what is it? Actually, I'll talk about it right now. What is it about mixing things up? If all you do is jog, this is what people don't think about, and it's been proven time and time again to be correct. What happens if all you do is jog? Do you get better at it or worse? You get better. You get better, and so your body adapts to it. So are you now burning more calories or less calories when you get more efficient? Less. You're burning less calories because you've become so efficient at what you do. So the best thing to do is to constantly mix up what you do and do what you're not good at. So learn the techniques of lots of different things and incorporate them into your routine. So some days do kettlebell swings, some days climb the stairs, some days do the Jacob's ladder, some days do the battle rope, some days do different variations on the jump rope, some days hit the heavy bags. You get the idea? You never master one thing, and then you mix up how you do it. So the high intensity interval training, and this is what I want to put across, assuming your body can cash the check, you go as hard as you can for 10 to 15 seconds, which you may be like, well, that's not very long. Well, let me ask you a question. When you watch the Olympics and you watch the 100-meter dash, how long does it take them to cross the finish line? Less than 10 seconds. How long are those world-class Olympic athletes winded after the run? I mean, just think about it. They have at least a minute and a half to rest before they get interviewed, and they're still clearly out of breath. It's 10 seconds. See, the difference, guys, is the stronger you are, the more force you can create, which means the more calories you can burn, which means the more hormones you can influence as you do your explosive movements over time. So somebody going as hard as they can for 10 seconds and they're like, well, that was nothing. It's because you're weak as hell. That's why. It's because you're weak as hell. So if you were to ask me to blast a heavy bag as hard as I can for 10 seconds, you're not going to see me talking to you for at least the next 30 seconds, or sprint as hard as I can for 10 seconds. You're not going to see me. You get the idea. But you can take somebody who's not in very good shape, do that for 10 seconds, legitimately as hard as they can. The problem is they can't create the force in order to create the muscle contraction, in order to, you understand what I'm saying? That the force that's being created behind the movement is totally different. So that's why strength training trumps everything. Get stronger first. Then you'll notice how much better your high intensity interval training is. So you get strong by doing proper strength training. You put your mind into the muscle. right? You put your mind into the movement. You're thinking about, okay, I'm getting tight, I'm locking my shoulders down. This is how the technique works. When I'm bench pressing, when I'm rowing, whatever I'm doing, when I'm squatting, when I'm deadlifting, I'm thinking about getting tight. I'm not talking to Mary, I'm not talking to Sam, I'm not Instagramming, while I'm in the, I am totally locked into what I'm trying to accomplish during the lift that I'm doing, okay? Those of you that have watched me train know that I get extremely introverted. When I'm moving my body, when I'm resting between sets, I'm happy to talk to you. But the rest of the time, I'm dialed in on technique. And the heavier the weight gets, the more focused I get. And that's how you should be. You should be constantly focused on technique. And as the weight gets heavier and heavier and heavier, dial yourself in more and more and more. It's like hitting a golf ball. You want to get that sweet spot. Everything's locked in at the right time. You then take that strength training that you've invested in and you can invest it into your high intensity interval training, which again maps onto you're putting out more force, which means more calories, which means a better hormonal cascade, which means that you can actually do it for less time. So now you can do 5 or 6 rounds of 10 to 15 seconds and be done, literally done with your workout. Maximum 8 to 10 rounds. Maybe 12 if you're, really in phenomenal shape. But you'll notice if you were to do 12, 10-second sprints all out and you're in good shape, you're going to be whooped. So that's what I mean by high intensity interval training. You go for about 10 seconds, you rest between 30 seconds and a minute. I'm a big believer in using a heart rate monitor to do this at first so that you know what your rest interval should be. So I'm a big fan of, getting yourself up to that 100%, 90 to 100% heart rate and letting it come back down under 70% for most people. There's different variations, there's different things going on. Obviously, if you're on certain medications, your medication won't allow your heart rate to get that high. So if you are somebody that has had some type of cardiac event, you're going to be loaded up with blood pressure medicine, statins, and all. You're going to be in a situation where getting your heart rate high is going to be impossible. That's how that's part of how the medications work. So if you're in that camp, you need to understand, well, Tom told me to get to 100%. For some reason, I can't get above 80. Yes, welcome to the world of chemistry. And what I'm trying to explain to everybody is that whether you're on a medication or not, your body is a walking chemistry experiment. And part of how it becomes a chemical soup is on what you choose to do. Are you sleeping 8 hours a night? Are you moving correctly or are you moving in pain? Do you move with good posture or shitty posture? Do you sit all day? Do you use NEAT? Do you use a standing desk instead of sitting down? Do you drive all day? What's going on with your hip? Everything you do creates that soup. So what we can do is learn to do things correctly now, right now. And it starts with don't move in pain. If walking is the best you can do, that's what you do. Then you titrate up. You start changing exercises. The long, steady state cardio, I'm fine with. You can mix it up as long as you don't have pain. The middle ground, what's tantamount to jogging all of the time, is something you should move away from. Again, just look at a jogger's posture. Look at their gait. Look at what's happening as they pound the ground with the Rocky Balboa. No, stop, okay? It's not doing anything good for you hormonally. It's not doing anything good for you in your joints. Please opt to walk. And if you're strong enough, if you've made the investments in your joints and your joint health to be able to handle high intensity interval training, whether it's on ropes or kettlebells or whatever, do it. I encourage everybody to watch my kettlebell swing video. I go through 10 things with the kettlebell swing. Listen to it. That is the instruction that you should be getting on every exercise you do. That level of detail. This is how you do something that seems as simple as a kettlebell swing. And watch how I break it down. Please listen to how much goes into it, what I'm thinking about, how I'm thinking about contracting my abs and my glutes at the top. I've run kettlebell classes. I was the first gym in New Jersey to have kettlebells. First gym. I am one of 2 master kettlebell instructors under the RKC on the whole East Coast. There's only 6 in the world before I stepped down. Okay, I was in that world for many, many years. Again, I'm not saying that to impress you. I'm saying that to impress upon you that when I make this video, it's coming from somebody who literally was part of the start of the movement. So if you're looking at going, I'm not sure if that's how you swing a kettlebell. Guys, I trained under the guy who brought kettlebells to the United States. His name is Pavel Tsatsouline. He's one of the best strength trainers in the world. I was around that guy for over a decade, learning from him and understanding one thing, kettlebells. And honestly, 90% of what I did in that RKC community, I don't even do in the gym. Okay, it's too advanced for most of my clients, way too advanced. My approach is very simple. I know where people are. I know what they need. I know what they need to do with their neck and their hips and their shoulders and their knees. I keep it simple. I keep it basic. And people that can cash certain checks, I push them a little bit further. But at the end of the day, guys, and we need to understand what we're actually getting when we invest in our movement, okay? If you move in pain, you're screwed. If you're trying to cash a check that your body can't cash when you do certain high intensity interval training exercises, you are going to suffer. If you're not obeying the law of, 8 to 12 at most high intensity interval training rotations, right? 10 to 15 seconds on, 30 seconds to a minute off. Pay attention to your heart rate, let yourself recover, make sure you breathe correctly in between and during exercises. Everything matters, guys. So if you want to maximize your hormonal cascades, it's not just about what you eat, although that's a big part of it. How you sleep, that's a big part of it. How you digest, that's a big part of it. What you're doing during the day, the SAID principle, specific adaptation to impose demands. If you're sitting all day, your body's adapting to a seated posture. Okay, that includes in a chair, that includes in a car seat. That is a big problem. And then you try to do what? Stand up and start ripping kettlebells really hard and fast between your legs and you expect to not get hurt? Come on now, everybody. We got to get wise and understand that strength training is there to correct what you're doing wrong all day. Once you move into that high intensity interval training, that's a different stratosphere of training. That's why most people do best with LISS, which is low intensity, steady state. Take walks, build your strength, learn techniques, move correctly, breathe right, get your diet correct, get those inflammatory markers down. Guys, is it all starting to make sense? I mean, please tell me if I have said something here where you're like, no way, is that correct? Just let me know. And if I've said anything in the past 40 days where you're like, that can't possibly be right, let me know. But all I've been trying to talk, guys, is just logic, reason, and trying to help you guys make sense of what nobody seems to be able to make sense of anymore. The most obvious stuff, okay? We got to get smarter here, make the investments where they matter, learn techniques, learn to listen to your body. That includes pain. And if you do that, you're going to get way more payoff from every single thing you do. That includes eating, that includes sleeping, that includes digesting. That's everything. That's movement, all of it. All right? All right, everybody. That's enough. If you have questions, please ask. Thank you for participating in the 40-day challenge, and I will be putting out some more very cool stuff as the new year approaches, and I'll be sharing my before and after pictures from this 40-day challenge starting next week. All right, guys, we ready for the bicep? Ba-boom! There it is, baby. All right, have a good rest of the day.